Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Porcella. I am the Senior Slate Training Strategist with Carnegie, and today we're going to chat about a territory management related topic, specifically Voyager in Slate, Voyager 101. And when coming up with this title, I also have to say, to be honest, Voyager 101 is probably inclusive of all of Voyager because Voyager hasn't been updated by Technolutions in a number of years. It's an older tool in Slate, but still useful. We are going to talk today about the advantages of using Voyager as well as some of the limitations because they do exist. Also, luckily for us, a lot of this can take place in an actual instance. So I'm going to exit our slideshow now and we'll hop on over to Slate. Voyager itself is a geospatial mapping tool within Slate. You can use it to create heat maps or marker points of different data. That can be person data, addresses, events, anything you'd really like. And this is accessed through the query tool. So if we do that and click on queries, it is sort of hidden. If you go on the right here to these pictures, you can see that Voyager is the third option contained within the queries module. And if you click on that, you can see Voyager is not too robust. We're going to build a voyage, but the other things on this page are just about it. You have a way to view past voyages that you've created and search for them if you have a lot of them. You can view your archive voyages and you can folder them. But that's just about it. So let us actually create one now to show the possibilities. We'll give it a name, and I'll be the user. Unlike some other areas of Slate, foldering is not critical to the success of your Voyager build. So I'm going to leave this blank, but you are welcome to folder it. And when we get into that, you see the main view. We have a big edit button here where you can change some of those configurations. You can edit your notes. I will mention that Voyager is an internal tool, so this will never face externally to any students or parents or any other constituents. This is only for your use internally, and you can put notes here for others to view what you were thinking when you built your voyage. We're going to edit our layers momentarily, but the only other option here is to edit your permissions. You can add a grantee to edit or view voyages if the global permissions aren't meeting your needs. So let's build some layers. When we click on that button, you get the screen that allows you to build a new layer, and you can create as many as you'd like. We're going to demo both types. There are markers and overlays. And we'll build one marker, and then we'll copy it just to show that functionality, and then we'll build an overlay as well. Markers are going to be little pinpoints that show data, and the overlays are going to be sort of a heat map of ACS-related data. For our markers, let's try a funnel approach. So for this first set of markers, I'm going to name this prospects, and we'll set it as marker. For color, you can apply an institutional hex code if you so choose, but we'll pick some colors as we go. You'll want to keep the default visibility on, and you'll want to set the order either starting at 1 going up or some number and going down. It doesn't really matter which direction you go, but they do need to be sequential in order to help this function well. And we're going to build this in configurable joins. I'm going to set this as person records because we'll do our prospect and inquiries first, and then we'll join as necessary to our applicants. Easy enough so far. When you click on save, for our folks who use queries a lot, this is going to look a lot like queries because it's using a query. You can see it right away. It tells us that the layer requires configuration. So we'll need to do two things. We need to edit our query first and then edit the layer associated with the query. So even though these two things go layer query, we want to start with query first. When we're building our query, let's keep this one simple. I'm going to add in just two filters. Let's start with status because we said we wanted prospects. Great. And then let's add our entry term and maybe take a couple of cohort years. So we're looking at just a few limited years in this showcase instance. So let's see if we can just pick maybe the past falls and the past springs. So we're bringing us down to 31,000. For exports, a couple things we need to do. We're going to add in info for name, and this is pretty non-consequential because this is just what's going to show in your voyage once done. So you can put anything you want. The one requirement, though, is to put something related to address, specifically your zip code. And for that, we're going to join out. I recommend doing the join to address by rank overall because we can specify that this is just a first ranked address. That will make life a lot easier. Once we've joined there, and we could have joined up top as well, but wanted to just give that additional CJ context. When we click on export, we now have the option to add our zip code. And this is vital. This is where you're going to get information pulled into the Voyage. Now, the question we often get is this says US 5-digit zip code, and that's accurate. A major limitation currently of Voyager is that this is for any location on Earth that has a US zip code. So you might gather that is mostly US based addresses. There are a couple of countries that use United States zip code systems. There's a couple other places that you can benefit from. But by and large, this is 99.9% a domestic US recruitment tool. So that is a major limitation, and we acknowledge that. We're hopeful maybe someday Technolutions will update. There are feedback posts on it. But for now, this is what we have. We'll then follow our breadcrumbs back up to our edit layers, and this still requires configuration. So let me now click edit layer. And for this, some additional options have been added to our configuration window. Mainly, we can choose our location export. This is where we're going to want to bring in zip code. And then our location type, switch to zip code and hit save. And voila, we have our first set of markers. So if we now click back out one additional layer of breadcrumbs, we can see our prospect markers is available to us. And something changed on the map. We now have these in the color we specified, and we can toggle this on and off. This will become more helpful when we add more layers. But it's a great way to begin to see, hey, I'm looking for students from New York City. You can then have a better visual representation of those students. And as you zoom in and out, the map is interactive. You can click on these icons and get info. You can go to different parts and pockets of the country. You can zoom out and the numbers will group together. But even more valuable are if you scroll down, you then have a list that you can review all the information associated with it. I think this is most helpful for admissions offices who are looking to expand. Maybe you have a secondary or tertiary market where you're trying to decide, should you send somebody? So you might be able to say, okay, well, we haven't gone to Texas before, but look, we've got 1,200 students in the Dallas area and another 1,200 in the Houston area. That type of information can be useful. Let's copy some layers to add in our inquiries and our applicants. This is even easier. If you go back to edit layers, you can do much the same. If you now click on the layer, you can hit save as copy. But make sure you change things first. So we will do our inquiries. We'll keep that as marker. We'll change the color up. And we'll change the order. We'll hit save as copy here. And we get mostly there. We do have to edit our query because we said these are inquiries. So let's do that. Change them to inquiry. Everything else, though, stays the same there. And we do have to edit that layer one more time because we have to tell it absolutely for sure we're looking for zip code. And when we hit save and now go back out, look at that, we've got our second marker. You can keep going as well. If you want the true funnel effect, let's go and edit our layer. Let's say this is a copy, but we'll do applicants. Change the color again, keep the order as 3, save as copy. And this is one where you could create it again in the CJ applicants base, but I'll show you how you might accomplish this as well. You could see if you go into change the status to applicant, that's one way to do it. You could build it in the applicant base. You could join to applications. Lots of ways to accomplish that goal. But for the sake of time today, that works for us for now. Then we'll go back out, edit our layer, and look at that. Now we can get a full sense of our full funnel and a visualization of it. And we can say, hey, if we go to Hawaii, do we have any applicants? And unfortunately, we don't. So maybe we can't convince the vice president to go to Honolulu, but we have prospects there. So you never know. But in any case, this is just a general overview of those markers. I will say, as mentioned at the beginning, this is the extent of the tool for markers. There's really nothing more fancy you can do than that. You can add different things to those markers. You can format them differently, but by and large, that's it. With that, let me show you the one additional tool that is possible. If we click on new layer and we change from marker to overlay, we can then name this anything we'd like, which we'll change later to accommodate whatever overlay we've chosen. This is a rare case that Voyager shows its age. We can't use configurable joins when we're doing an overlay. We have to look for a special filter in only the Slate template library and a base called geography. This is specific to Voyager, and this is the format you need to use to do an overlay. With an overlay, much the same. Edit your query, and you don't necessarily have to do anything for your filters, but what you need to do is add in a couple of very specific exports. You need to add in your ACS data value and a zip code. These were custom created for this purpose. Zip pulls in just fine, but you do need to configure the ACS data value, and ACS stands for the American Community Survey. This is done during every census, and Technolutions updates it every 5 years. So this was most recently done in 2020, thus the data is 3 years old. This is probably our second largest limitation, is that the data becomes outdated very quickly, and it's not very frequently updated. If I click on this and double click and I hit save, that technically is all I need to do to configure. But if I want to configure something else, you can see the configuration is just trying to ask me to specify what data point am I hoping to visualize. You can do age, education, income level, language, population, race, ethnicity, and sex. Any of these could be helpful. I think one that we see from a lot of folks is education level. If we are selecting education % bachelor degree, and we name it that, as we dive back out and we hit edit layer, same idea, edit the locations to be all zip and hit save. If I now go back out to our Voyage, our overlays now display, and I can toggle %BA. This will load and give me the heat map of information. And that allows me to go in and see, oh, look, there's a county in Idaho and Nevada where nearly 100% of students have, or parents have a bachelor's degree, or in New England versus Florida. You can take a look at that. And this is also live. This displays here at the bottom. You can toggle between your tabs now, and you can get rid of any and all of these. If you really only just want to see your applicants, click to get rid of them. You can get rid of the overlay and then just see only your applicants. That's it. That's Voyager. Luckily, or depending on your perspective, maybe unluckily, there's not much more to it. We definitely encourage trying it out. It's a pretty easy tool to test. And what you saw here is going to be the process for anybody attempting Voyager. So this is not institution specific. You can follow these steps and get a funnel-based marker system, just like we did here. So that's all for us for now. My name is Nick Porcella. Again, I'm the Senior Slate Trading Strategist. Would love to talk to you about Voyager or tradings or anything Slate. It's what I love to do. So please reach out. Be happy to talk to you anytime. But for now, wishing you well, and we'll see you on our next Slate demo series. Take care.